Okay, we're all set.
I'd like to call the December 7th Board of Commissioners meeting to order. And before we start our meeting, any of you that would like to join in by Zoom, you can go to the county website. It gives you directions how to get into the Zoom part of the meeting. Also, before we start, everyone sitting here, I'm sure even our visitors have seen on the news the Oxford High School tragedy. And it is truly a tragedy, and the families that are hurting and the loved ones that they lost, and unbelievable that can happen this day and age in our community. And so before we'll all stand, and I'll have Bill Sarkella lead us in prayer and then the pledge by Commissioner Block. But before Bill says a prayer, let's stand for just a moment of silent prayer.
Dear Lord, we ask that you would be with us today. We're thankful for all that you do give us. We ask that you be with the families from Oxford High School, console them, give them strength and comfort, knowing that all things do come through you and are for the good. We ask that you be with us in our meeting, give us strength and courage and wisdom, and allow us to always remember that Jesus is the reason for the season. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One thing I did forget, we don't have a multitude of visitors here today, but welcome all of our visitors and our news media here for our meeting this afternoon. Denise, if you do roll call, please.
District 1 Commissioner John Block.
Present.
District 3 Commissioner Bill Sarkalla.
Present.
District 4 Commissioner Roger Ballard.
Present.
District 5 Commissioner Joel Wyatt.
Present.
District 2 Chairman Gary Beaverly.
Present. Thank you very much. And I know you're not Denise, sorry. Okay, moving on our agenda, additions and corrections and deletions to agenda. Do we have any for our BOC meeting? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve today's agenda.
So moved. Support.
Okay, the motion made in support for today's agenda, December 7th. Any questions, concerns? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. The agenda today is written will stand. Approval of minutes correction of minutes for our November 16th meeting. Do I hear any corrections, additions? Okay, hearing none, I entertain approval for our November 16th meeting. Okay.
Support.
Okay, my motion and support. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Next on our agenda, correspondence, petitions, and introductions in front of you. You were supplied a communication, and there's 8 different communications on there. I won't go through each of them. I trust you. If you have any questions, you can bring that up after the meeting. Next is Commissioner's report. I will start with Commissioner Wyatt.
I have nothing at this time.
Okay.
Is that me?
Yeah.
I attended Flynn, Elk, and Village of Peck meetings. They're all moving along nicely. Some of them have begun to receive COVID funding. Last night I attended the City of Marlette meeting, and they are pleased that they received a $215,000 DNR grant for their pool house. They've been working on that project for several years. So congratulations to them on that. And that's about it.
I've attended this past month and started again tonight our township meetings. And again, and I know it sounds redundant, but 2 of the biggest things is the marijuana and well, that's probably the number 1 issue on each one, and the blight issue. And each of the townships are working towards making that better. Bill?
Lexington Township is working with Croswell in regards to the marijuana ordinance. So they're trying to maybe not reinvent the wheel and work together on that. They have some concerns with short-term rentals, and their planning commission is looking at the county road access at the foot of a couple of the streets that they have. And then they're going to be switching their road lights over to LED. They're working with DT on that. Village of Port Sanilac is formalizing their Parks and Rec staff. Their sheriff patrol is transitioning in winter. They've been very happy with the service that the sheriff department has been providing for them, and they're going to continue with that. And they're working with recycling, with our recycling on putting possibly a dump area over there as well. And then Croswell last night, they had an update from Eagle on their water plant. There's some issues there with some lead, but they're working that out with the way they're treating the water coming out of the wells. And they spent quite some time on some municipal civil infractions. One in particular is a new ordinance prohibiting the feeding of the feral and stray cats. So they're still working on the cat issue there.
That is a big issue.
That's a big
It's been in the
issue.
newspaper before.
Okay, that's all I have for the commissioner report.
So I attended a Evergreen and Argyle Township board meetings over the last couple of weeks. Argyle Township has a fire department, and Greenleaf is currently finishing up a building in Evergreen Township that is going to be like a satellite location for the Argyle Fire Department, so that they'll have, volunteer firefighters in that area have a closer location, closer equipment to serve the
They
community.
keep a vehicle there too then?
Yeah, I believe they're going to have equipment
Good idea.
there. So it's going to be a good improvement in the fire service in that area of the county. And then beyond that, just providing an update and information to those townships on ARPA funding use.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Bob. Next is our administrator's report. Sarah?
All right, well, we had an extra week, so I'll start by saying that before I get into my report. I did work with the courts to complete 2 different grant applications. This was for coronavirus emergency supplemental funding. So we've already received this funding last year. The funding this year was on a competitive basis. So in total, we submitted a request for $150,000 between 2 applications. And the focus of the application was to implement additional barriers and then automate processes to help mitigate the spread of COVID-19. So we have yet to hear if we've been successful at receiving those grant funds. In addition, what would have been 2 weeks ago, we had reclassification interviews with Mark Notley. We have received those reports back, and I will be scheduling meetings with our department officials to discuss those results. And then there were 3 different meetings with the MRAC committee to discuss our windmill litigation. And then we have a counter proposal into DTE that we're still waiting to hear feedback from DTE on. We might have an update this Friday. We do meet weekly, so stay tuned for more information on that. The policy committee held a meeting probably a couple weeks ago now. Sorry, the weeks the days blend together when there's that much time in between. But we did talk about the emergency temporary standard, and then also the development of a policy in preparation of a potential requirement to implement the policy. Obviously, at this point in time, OSHA has suspended all action on the emergency temporary standards. So we are staying put. We do have a policy ready. We have templates. So if something changes, we can certainly roll that out to staff. The Brownfield Committee held a meeting. That committee hasn't met in several years.
I heard that.
Yeah, Commissioner Ballard, you participated
Yes.
in that as well. We didn't have a quorum, so we really couldn't conduct any official business, but it was a good meeting. We sat with Carl Ozentowski of the Economic Development Commission, and he kind of shared information that projects are taking place even though this committee is unable to meet right now. He's definitely a collaborative partner to help make sure that those projects continue while we work to fill that committee.
I do have one person possibly interested in the city village government
Okay, good. And
position.
one of the items that we talked about that was interesting is there's no per diem for that meeting. So we didn't know if maybe that was hindering people to participate. So that's something that could certainly be looked at. And then in addition, we've held several meetings with the medical care facility. We attended their board meeting this past Monday to discuss their budget. We met on Wednesday to discuss their budget further. So we're trying to stay on top of what's happening at the medical care facility as far as their budget shortfalls. And then I held a subcommittee meeting as required or requested by the policy committee to address a remote work policy. So we had some really great discussions on that. I have drafted a policy and I wanted to get that out to the subcommittee before bringing it back to the policy committee for further review. And then we had a court security meeting last week and I think that went pretty well. The employee recognition committee meeting was last week. So we have a lot going on. Obviously, you've seen the decorations in the courthouse. So I think employees and staff are really happy about getting our events going again. So there's a prize if you haven't noticed. So people are really amping up their decorations, and we are going to roll out a prize, I think, for first, second, and third place.
I was in the building this morning and made the rounds.
Yes.
And, it's nice that they're excited about, they're seeing people they don't see very often,
Yes.
visiting each other's offices, and it's kind of lifted spirits around here.
Yes, I would encourage you, if you have some time in between meetings today, to just kind of walk around and see what staff have been working on. It does look really good. And then in addition, I met with our buildings and grounds supervisor and our chief animal control officer. We did formulate an RFP for architectural and engineering services. This was through our buildings and grounds maintenance committee meeting. So we do have that RFP posted to the website, and we're just trying to prepare for the potential of looking into a animal control facility with ARPA funds. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Any questions for Tara? Thank you. This time, on our agenda, we'll open up to public comments, and they will be agenda items only. Okay, hearing none. Moving on to appointments and standing committees, county commissioner appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. We have none, which is going to lead us next into number 15 on our agenda today, general resolutions. And this is in regards to the opiate crisis and litigation that's been going on with our county. And the resolution will be read by Commissioner Saltella.
Whereas Santa Ana County filed a lawsuit in the United States District Court to address the public nuisance that is the opioid epidemic, which named among other companies the following four defendants: Janssen Pharmaceuticals, AmerisourceBergen Corporation, Cardinal Health, and McKesson Corporation. Whereas the lawsuit was subsequently transferred to the United States District Court in the Northern District of Ohio and centralized as part of the INRA National Prescription Opiate Litigation, MDL 2804, case number 117 MD 2804, which is presided over the Honorable Dan Aaron Polster, United States Federal District Court Judge. And whereas the settling defendants have negotiated proposed national settlement agreements with the state attorneys general and a plaintiff executive committee designating negotiating committee that represents approximately 4,000 local governments that have brought lawsuits similar to Santa Ana County's lawsuit. And whereas the proposed settlements contain a default allocation method where settlement funds that are allocated to a particular state to resolve the claims asserted by state and local governments within that state are allocated as follows: 15% of settlement proceeds paid under the proposed settlements are allocable to the state, 15% of the settlement proceeds are allocable to local governments, and 70% of the settlement proceeds are allocable to an opioid abatement fund. And whereas the proposed settlements enable the state and local governments within a state to negotiate alternative allocation methods to the default allocation method referenced above. And whereas Santa Ana County desires to enter an alternative allocation method which allocates settlement funds solely to participating local governments who have elected to participate in the proposed settlement and the state of Michigan. Therefore, be resolved, Santa Ana County authorizes execution of a Michigan State subdivision agreement for allocation of distributor settlement agreement and Janssen settlement agreement substantially similar to the proposed agreement attached to this resolution. Santa Ana County also authorizes execution of a similar state subdivision agreement to the extent that it provides a substantially similar allocation of settlement for bankruptcy proceeds obtained from opioid litigation with any other entity.
Thank you, Bill, and thanks for that motion. I'll entertain a support. It has been motion made in support for this resolution. Open it up for any discussion, any questions.
Could I make a comment?
Mm-hmm.
So if you recall, when we had spoken to Mike Boehm, our attorney on the opioid litigation, he had mentioned that the state is trying to capture these litigated funds, or the settlement, if you will. And he talked about how it was in the best interest of the counties to control that funding and for it to be directly allocated to the counties. So that's what this resolution will support. And then in addition, as we quickly move through these various settlements, there's a lot of paperwork documents that will need to be signed in order for us to participate in these settlements. So I wanted to just kind of, I guess, run it by you, make sure you're comfortable with me acting as the county representative to sign those documents to keep them moving along, to ensure our participation. So that would be at the recommendation of our attorney that, we approve and get on board with some of these settlements.
I think it's important that we have a representative that's available at any time to handle that. So we're not waiting till a board meeting because that we could potentially cause delays.
Absolutely. I do have a few right now, honestly, but I wanted to make sure that you were comfortable with me facilitating that role.
Do you need a motion on that?
I don't,
vote or no?
no, I don't think so, because technically John and I had a conversation on this. If we were in court trying to settle with MMRMA, our insurance carrier, there's really no time to call a meeting to do a settlement. So it is, they're acting in our best interest to advise that we get on board with these settlements. I just wanted to run it by everyone to make sure you felt that was the best way to handle it.
Well, you've already said you're going to upgrade your administrative reports which would include all the updates
Yes.
on this.
Yeah.
It doesn't preclude you from firing off an email if something else popped up. And if
Yeah.
it does, can you do that?
Absolutely.
Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. The resolution passed. Oh, sorry, yeah. Roll call.
Okay.
We were just testing.
Commissioner Wyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Sarcella,
Yes.
Commissioner Black,
Yes.
Chairman Eberling,
Yes.
and Chairman Ballard.
Commissioner Ballard? Yeah.
Commissioner, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Yes.
She saw you sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
All right, next is committee reports, and Commissioner Block will start on your end.
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe that I've had any committee meetings since our last meeting.
All right,
I was able to attend the HCC meeting over in Carroll, along with their finance meeting as well. They're still under mask mandate, so everybody's covered there. They're dealing with 5 to 7 vacancies, and they approved in the finance committee, as well as the large board selling some acreage tied to Willow Way and Croswell. They have some land adjacent to some housing there that they no longer need. And then the pension board met, and it's nice to report that we're fully funded. And there's actually $4.5 million goes out on an annual basis for them. But the pension fund itself is at over 85 million. And we approved mandatory contribution rate for the retirees because they have to have a certain amount. And so that's going to be at 1.2% for non-vested if somebody should leave prior to that, and they have some money within the pension fund. So that was the 2 committees I was able to attend.
thank you, Commissioner Sarcella. I'll be short with mine now. We've had a couple committee meetings over the past couple weeks, and one was today, but going back to the planning commission we had a couple weeks ago, which Commissioner Block and I both serve on. In that meeting, one of the things we voted on was getting an RFP out for our county planning, I can never remember the terminology.
Master plan.
Master plan. So that's ready to go out. I will be getting that to Nancy. And I don't know if you had a chance to look at it.
I forgot about that. You did send that over. I got a
So
chance
as
to
soon
look
as
at
you
it.
set your eyes on it, okay, we'll get that out. Then what that's for is to hire a consultant to help us with our master plan. And I think we're like 4 years overdue to get that done. I don't know if we're overdue, but it's time to get it done. And then today, Commissioner Wyatt and myself attended our personnel committee. We had 5 different issues to address. One of them, if I want to leave something for Mr. Wyatt to talk about, one was with MSUE. One was part of the funding that we had drawn back earlier for our budget, and we're going to talk about that later in our finance meeting today. There was some movement on that from both parties. And in my report.
Parks meet tonight. Really nothing else to report other than we did receive approval from the MDNR Trust Fund Board for our $82,000 or $80,200 grant for Forester Park playground equipment. And that awaits approval from the state legislature. So we're pleased with that.
Regarding the personnel committee meeting that we had today, it was a full agenda for individual items. Some took a little bit more time than others regarding the MSU extension. the district director presented a case and an opportunity to follow up on the board's statement of a previous board meeting where we told them how important MSU extension 4-H programs are. And we were able to work out an agreement in the budget reduction, changing it in such that we'll be finding out later on today in such a way that they can still continue to provide the services that 4-H requires for the community. That's all I got on that. Oh, I did have a question for buildings and grounds. Can you elaborate on the meeting regarding animal control? And explain a little bit about what you mentioned.
You want to talk about that, Bill? You want me to?
Go ahead.
So buildings and grounds, we had a meeting, we discussed, the need for an animal control shelter. So the way I understand it is currently Sanilac County's animal control shelter is sitting on City of Sandusky property. And the City of Sandusky is interested in utilizing that property. So there's a need for us to move. And so there's been discussions about building a building. Of course, we'd have to source property and figure out what a building would cost. So the animal control has done some research on different types of buildings that would, suit their needs. And what Tara brought up in administrator's reports was an RFP to get the ball rolling on trying to assess what it would cost to build a building like that. So that we have an idea on whether that's something we want to move forward with or not.
And we're aware of the value that current building has in the current condition of agreement that we have, right?
Well, the agreement was for what, 55 years? 99.
It's still got some life left.
Yeah, it's got, well, I don't know, it's got a lot of life left, but.
Well, it has value.
Yeah, sure.
But it's not passing, it's barely passing the state inspections. And they don't have the criteria that they're supposed to.
I would assume the buildings and ground is considering what can Sandusky, the city of Sandusky bring to the plate, right?
Correct.
We are.
We have something they want.
That's all I wanted to hear, that
Yeah.
you've got something that.
Yep.
Okay, good.
So John, the other question, I've been part of, not the conversations you've had, but over the last 4 or 5 years, there's been talk about actually trying to move the building right out of town, because wherever you build in town, it could affect somebody next door. Is that still something you're looking into?
So, not to get too deep into it, but the idea that the city of Sandusky wants us gone. So maybe they're going to be willing to help us with something. And so that kind of entails in the building likely being probably within the city limits, but they do have all that water sewer infrastructure over there in that area.
I talked to Dave Faber
Yeah.
a couple, 3 years ago. He offered up some property across.
Yeah. So that's kind of maybe the hope is, and we're trying to build that, get a concept on what we want to do and then approach them about that and see how they can help us and in the process, help themselves by freeing up property they need.
Well, in the future, if we have anything specific to talk about, it is dealing with land purchases, or the idea of land purchases. It can be a closed session. We may want to consider that a meeting in the future when we want to have some in-depth discussion about that.
Okay. That's a good point.
We all good?
Yep.
All right. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. Some block a second here to get through. What's unfinished business is FA 183-21 adoption of federal grant compliance policy. As we go through these, you're going to have to sift through the pages because there's a lot of information in some of these. Keep them in line and order.
Would you like me to elaborate on where, if you recall, we tabled this because we were waiting on a response from our consultants for the ARPA funds. And they had made some recommendations on some items to include into the policy. The first added item is on page 9. And it's just an extra paragraph referring to the 2 CFR Part 200 on cash management. So we did incorporate that language as they had recommended. And then the other major change was on page 11. It was related to item 13, which is regarding procurement. So there are special considerations for what they refer to as SAT, which is simplified acquisition threshold. And that information should technically be included in our policy. So those were the recommendations of the ARPA consultants to ensure that we're in compliance.
So, Chair, if I understand what you're saying here on page 9 and page 11, what was added in here, this will be part of this policy.
Yes,
Okay.
11 or 12 and 13 page.
yes,
page
yeah,
13.
everything that's.
A, B, and C,
italicized.
looks like everything.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. That's why I said there was a lot to go through here. You want to sit through it.
All right.
You want a moment to look at it before we?
I got a chance to look at it. So we're aiming to make a motion to approve this with the amendments.
Yeah.
So I make the motion that the St. Louis County Board of Commissioners hereby adopts the following federal awards policy with amendments.
Support. Okay, the motion made and support for the adoption of federal grant compliancy policy. Any further questions or discussion at this time?
So what we're seeing on pages through to, oh my gosh, what, 15, 16, 17 here? That's all the amendment. Okay. And this was the one that we didn't have previously.
We did have a more simplified version. So this was originally rewritten and then our
Yeah.
consultants had requested that we include just a little bit more.
Your original rewrite though was on the, I forgot who, was that
That was-
Yo?
Yes,
Yeah,
that was
had given us the recommendation to update
Yes.
that, right? Okay.
because it was lacking certain components.
So literally everything in italics is what we're looking at.
So this is the example of the first works that we've received from the consultant through of ARPA funds.
Yes,
Okay. You happy with it?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Okay, moving on to next FA is FA 186-21, approval of 2021 current claims.
The St. Louis County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of current claims for 2021 identified on the accounts payable report dated November 30th, 2021 for the general bank account in the amount of $196,611.52.
Support.
Okay, the motion made and support for approval of 2021 current claims. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Next is FA 187-21, budget adoptions, amendments, appropriations, and transfers.
The St. Louis County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the following budget amendments, transfers, and establishes the following accounts as presented.
Okay, the motion made and support for budget adoptions, amendments, and et cetera. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Moving on to page 19. FA 188-21, authorization to post and fill position, Central Dispatch.
The St. Louis County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the 911 director to post and fill a full-time dispatcher position effective January 1st, 2022. Further authorizes the adjustment of the full-time equivalent FTE list to reflect an additional 1.0 FTE dispatcher and a reduction of 0.5 FTE part-time dispatcher.
Support.
Okay, been a motion made and support. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Next is FA 189-21, authorization to post and fill crime victims rates.
The St. Louis County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the prosecutor to post and fill the crime victims advocate position at a pay grade 7.
Support. Okay, a motion made and support for FA 189-21. Any further discussions?
Should that be a pay grade 7, step 1?
Well, technically, according to policy, they have to be placed at step 1. So that this is just indicating that that position's at a pay grade 7.
Okay.
Is this how we normally format?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Next is FA 190-21, authorization to post and fill position, prosecutor's office.
The St. Louis County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the prosecutor to post and fill a legal secretary position at a pay grade 4.
Support.
Okay, been a motion made and support. Any further questions or comments? This is to backfill that job, right? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. Next is FA 191-21, authorization to post and fill seasonal positions, Parks Commission.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the Parks Commission to post and fill seasonal positions at a pay grade 1.
Support.
Okay, been motion made in support for FA 19121. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. Next, FA 192-21, approval of agreement for consulting services, animal control.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the agreement for consulting services between Sanilac County and James Mattson and further authorizes the board chairman sign the necessary document.
Support.
Okay, been motion made in support. Just a note of interest here. James has been retired and been performing this job. It's a yearly thing we talk about each year in support. He's agreed to stay on again. So
Is there any change in the contract from last year?
any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. FA 193-21, approval enforcement agent, soil erosion settlement.
Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the annual soil erosion and sedimentation control enforcement agreement between the County of Sanilac, State of Michigan, and Joseph Allen, and further authorizes the board chairman sign the necessary document.
And the motion made in support. Any further questions?
Same question.
Yeah,
No change.
no change.
Thank you.
Joe's been doing this, I don't know how many years. So. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. Next, FA 194-21, authorization to post and fill temporary position, probate court.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes probate court to post and fill a temporary court clerk at a pay grade 5.
Support.
And then a motion made for FA 19421. Any further discussion, any further questions?
How temporary is temporary?
I believe at least through April, based on their situation. We have someone on medical leave.
So around 6 months.
Mhm.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. Next is FA 195-21, award bid contractor, Parks Commission.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby awards the bid to Common Ground Electric Incorporated at a cost not to exceed $34,100 for the purpose of completing the conversion to natural gas at Lexington Park.
Support.
Okay, been motion made and support for FA 19521. We've had discussion in the last couple of meetings over this. Is there any further discussion we need to have before we vote on it? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. Next is FA 196-21, authorization for erosion control, Parks Commission.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the County Road Commission perform erosion control at Forester Park for immediate approval at an estimate cost of $45,000 with funding from the park's millage.
Support.
Okay, been motion made and support for FA 196-21. Any further discussion?
Roger, were they able to begin work on this yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
They give you a date when they thought they could start.
It's- Depends on weather and other jobs.
Sure. No. Kind of the way it goes nowadays, right?
Yeah.
I see that looks like they've got they're working at the end of Washington Road right now on 25. So they're probably tied up still.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. Next is FA 197-21, award bid to purchase workstations. This is a drug task force.
The Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby awards the bid to Dell at a cost of $1,346.48 each for the purpose of purchasing 7 workstations for the Drug Task Force. Further, in addition, awards the bid to CDWG to purchase 7 Microsoft Office Suite Pro 2021 open license at a cost of $395.95 each for a total cost not to exceed $12,197.01 with funding from the Drug Task Force contingency.
Support.
Okay, my motion made in support for FA 197-21. Any further discussion or comment? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. FA 198-21 award bid for performance review, medical care facility.
The St. Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby awards the bid to Health Dimensions Group for immediate approval for the purpose of a performance review for the medical care facility beginning December 1st, 2021 at a cost not to exceed $85,000 with funding from the ARPA funds.
Support.
There's been a motion made in support, open for discussion. I just want to add a little bit what our kind of controller alluded to earlier. We had a meeting with them last Wednesday. And it was kind of eye opener. And one thing I think we all agree, once we go through this audit, I think we'll have a better idea where we're at and we'll bring some things to light, good or bad, either way. So
Could I just mention too, that we've already met with Health Dimensions Group. We had our kickoff call. There was a team of about 10 professionals and they all focus in different areas. We've already received quite a lengthy list of information that they're requiring. We've scheduled their on-site visits for the week of January 10th.
Wow.
So, we're moving really quickly. I'm quite impressed with the knowledge that this group has. And I think we'll hear some good feedback.
I think it was, we obviously all agreed it was needed, and I think it'll bring some things to light. There was some good information brought forth in the meeting. I think Roger and I come out with a little maybe different perspective, but obviously with any business in our area or any business in Michigan, when you're cut back, COVID had a lot to do with it, right? When you're cut back to 50%, it affects you financially. So again, we get this audit under our belt. I think we'll have a better idea where we're at.
I think we made the right choice.
Do we have an expectation of time before summarization is available?
I believe I have it written down. It's either the end of January or end of February.
What, that quick?
Yeah.
What?
I'm going to say end of February because by the time they take the information, compile
We
it,
did say February.
end of February.
Wow.
Yeah.
They can have a comprehensive review done in a month and a half. Lesson. Wow.
It's possible that this is a small facility compared to some of the facilities that they may work with in the past too.
Yeah. I guess I expect a little bit more boots on the ground, on a day-to-day basis following what they do, but
I think you'll see that in January.
Yeah,
When they're
okay.
on site.
does that involve interviews of recipients of the services?
I don't know if they'll go that far. I know they interview staff. The director of nursing, different positions they talked about interviewing.
Wouldn't it seem reasonable for them to have interviews of people who've actually, received services from them, both in the present and maybe in the near past? I mean, your mom was in there, right? Or somebody that that was in there?
No, she's in a different facility.
Oh, okay.
Well, my mother-in-law was in there.
Joe O'Mara had talked about it at one time.
I can inquire on that.
Can we
Yeah.
see if they can incorporate that? That seems like that would be valuable
And maybe
information.
they already
They
are,
may
but let me
do that.
I'll find out for
Okay.
sure.
Thanks.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same, motion passed. Next is NFA -031-21B, authorization to apply for the employee retention tax credit, known as ERTC, medical care facility.
The St. Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the Administrator Controller to submit an amended Q1 2021 941 federal tax return on behalf of the St. Lake County Medical Care Facility to claim an employee retention tax credit, ERTC. Further, the calculation for the ERTC is to be reviewed by an independent auditing firm to ensure the reimbursement is not duplicative of other federal reimbursements received for payroll expenses in Q1 2021. If authorized by the IRS, all ERTC funds are to be held in an escrow account for a period of 3 years from the date of receipt of funds. In addition, the board refers the medical care facility's request for ARPA funds to the ARPA Fund Committee for further consideration. Further directs and authorizes the medical care facility to solicit proposals through the county's RFP process to conduct an operational audit of the facility with funding from the ARPA funds, with results presented to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, the motion made in support, and we've talked about this a little bit before. Is there any other questions to this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Next on our agenda is general public comments. Is there any public comments at this time?
Can I ask a question?
You have some public comment? Yep.
I heard them referring to going to the township meetings and that marijuana was discussed.
Mhm.
And I'm a delegate for Forster Township, and we have had a horrible time in Forster with marijuana. And it's never mentioned at a township meeting. How do we find out, as the people of Forster Township, where the marijuana farms are and what we can do about our issues?
Well, supposedly, in one of the township meetings I was to, there is a bill, I'm not sure where it's at, in the State House, going through that they're going to change a lot of these things. The state will do it. So I don't have a lot of detail because it changes from day to day and right. And so I do have that bill, and if I maybe after the meeting I get your email address, I can send it to you. That came from the Moore Township meeting, from their supervisor.
When we do have issues, we don't even have, we have no security. We don't have a policeman or anything. So when we've had issues over the past years, nothing is ever resolved.
Yeah, well, everybody, I want to phrase that right. Every township is running into the same problem. And when this was voted on a couple of years ago, there probably should have been more oversight in it by who and when and how. And I know Commissioner Black and I went through a planning meeting here a month or so ago, and one of the townships come up with the idea of having, if there was a issue with marijuana at a location, the clerk would go serving papers. Well, I think we all agreed right away. If the clerk is my wife or John's wife or whoever, we don't want them serving that. You know, we want somebody in uniform. So everybody's trying to come up with something, but we don't know where we're at yet. And I think that's what every township is facing. Really, you know, what can we do? You know, you do something, the state might come down or somebody sue you that you can't do this. You know, so. There's progress, but it's slow. And I think it's out here and everybody's trying to come up with something. It's not there yet, you know. So I'll get your email or I'll get it from Deb and I can send you that bill that Sid Thompson give us.
Thank you.
Pam, could I have your name?
Dale Eugster is the last name, Eugster.
Thank you.
Okay, we have any more comments? So, hearing none. Next is closed session. We have no agenda for a closed session today. Approval of closed session meetings, none. And I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Support. Have a motion made and support to adjourn. Any further questions, comments? In favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion passed. Meeting closed.